He's worked out with these wide receivers. Quarterbacks can coach up wide receivers. Him talking about his shoulders to the sideline, on the release to counteract with the defensive back to be able to sell it. Oh, that's great information.
The long-term best at each of these positions, that's the other position they know the best, right? Like, you know...
I don't understand what you said.
If you've been a long-term quarterback like Matt Ryan, one of the best, the position on the field other than your own that you know the best is probably wide receiver.
Yes.
And you feel like when we talk about quarterbacks and the way ball needs to be released, that you know that position even though you didn't play it because of what you're describing, correct?
Yeah, and I grew up as a quarterback. When I got to high school, I had a racist coach who moved me to wide receiver.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons.
Yeah, well,
look, I really like the fact that they're developing rapport. And if you're that receiver, you're going to listen to everything he says, because if you go out and do what he says, he's going to throw you the ball a lot more often because he appreciates the relationship that you're building. I think it's great.
Undrafted free agent with a guy making $30 million, taking the time, that right there goes through your team. Matty Ice is one of the best in the league. That's what guys should be doing. Brady does the same thing in New England, and our other great leaders that we have playing the game.
All right, let's get back to the Cowboys and Ezekiel Elliott.
From my boys.
You're going to get some stress.
Cowboys star running back continues his holdout while the team appears to be digging in on their stance of not caving. According to reports, the Cowboys are not going to let Zeke force their hand. So just how bad could the situation get? Well, the once preposterous idea of trading him is now being floated around. Coach, do you think the Cowboys should consider trading Ezekiel Elliott? The holdout's now entering, what, the 6th day?
Who's floating it around?
Well, it's being discussed on our show. Fans are talking about it. What could they get?
That's what I should say. It should keep floating out there. You can't trade Ezekiel Elliott because he suddenly decides that he's going to hold out and he wants more money. It just sets a horrible precedent, and is their best player. And they've got to get to a point where they come to terms, some way or the other. I think what happened with Khalil Mack and Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell
and Odell Beckham
but Odell was a little bit different deal. Sure. Those guys were forcing their way out of situations where Odell was sent somewhere by the organization. I just think if you start that precedent, then people know this is how they can do business with the Dallas Cowboys. The other players know, if I don't like what my situation is, I'll hold out and I'll get out of Dallas. And if you do that, it becomes one problem turns into 20 problems.
Here's the pushback on that. I don't think Zeke wants out of Dallas. Yeah. Zeke just wants to get paid. It's not an Antonio Brown situation, right, where he clearly wanted out of Pittsburgh for a number of reasons. Khalil Mack, I don't know that he wanted out of Oakland, but I don't think there's an organization at the time where people are dying to play for them. The Cowboys are still if not the marquee organization. I think Zeke would be incredibly disappointed if this holdout ends with him being traded away. So I don't know if you would have to be as concerned as other organizations would be. For example, if you're Jacksonville, which right now I don't know if a ton of people are super happy playing in Jacksonville, and if Jalen Ramsey were to be in this spot and then get traded away, then there might be other guys saying, well, hold on. Okay, so I can get to more of a marquee organization, an organization where I can make more money off the field. But the Cowboys are the best spot for Ezekiel Elliott. He doesn't want to be traded. He just wants to be paid. So I don't know that it would be viewed as they are rewarding bad behavior as much as this is what can happen to you. You can no longer be a Dallas Cowboy. You can go be playing for one of those other organizations where there's a lot of great players and a lot of teams that don't get discussed and don't get the money that goes along with that as far as off the field like Cowboys players do.
Yeah, I don't know what the demands are. But I know he's trying to reset the market, and I know that the offer the Cowboys gave him is not close to what the Todd Gurley. So if I feel like that he's not signable, not today, we haven't played a preseason game, but I'm going to tell you in 4 weeks, I'm going to have to think about it. If his numbers are outrageous, I'm going to have to think about trading him. I'm not going to do it now. So I do believe, Jenna, that the question, it is legitimate. I don't believe that Jerry Jones, man, I don't believe Jerry has the stomach at this age of his life. A couple years ago, getting into the Hall of Fame, Jerry wants to win another Super Bowl before he goes on to see his maker. So I don't think Jerry would trade Ezekiel Elliott. But Zeke, man, has really put the Cowboys in a tough spot. He's got 2 years left on his contract. And even if the Cowboys were offering him, let's just say a minimum of a 3-year extension, they got him signed for 5 years. 5 years as a running back probably 55 million, 60 million guaranteed. That's a lot of money for the Cowboys to be on the hook for. The other thing I just have to disagree with a little bit is I don't believe we should discuss Khalil Mack in the same breath as those other people who forced them way out Antonio, because Khalil Mack didn't. He was in the last year. He had performed as good on or off the field as you would want to. Gruden was coming in a unique situation. They did not want to pay him. And then after last season, Gruden was there to say, wow, that guy was worth the price. He changed the organization, the Super Bowl aspirations, and he did it the way you're supposed to. I'm great the first 4 years. You're not going to pay me in the 5th year. I'm not exercising the option. I'm not coming to I got a long-term deal. He proved to be worth all those draft picks, Coach.
The reason I put Khalil Mack in that group is because he didn't even return John Gruden's call. He wouldn't go in to see him. So there's an element of, hey, this probably isn't going to work out. In terms of what you're saying, going to a marquee organization, I don't know, Le'Veon Bell went to the Jets. Is that a marquee organization? Odell went to Cleveland. Is that a marquee organization? Antonio got shipped to Oakland. So, and even
they went from the most marketable situations with Pittsburgh and the Giants to other teams that haven't. But you make a good point.
Yeah, and then you look at Le'Veon Bell's decision. He lost, what, $12, $14 million, sat out a year. He's not getting that money back. So you can take that stance and sit out the year, and that's your right to do that. But it's hard for me to think that Jerry's going to be bullied by someone, especially someone that he has supported, like we talked about. And look, there's another incident reported yesterday, right? The car crash or whatever it is. I don't know what the story is, but now we've got the 6 games that he missed.
This is where the Cowboys put themselves in trouble. The car crash happened before the playoff game in 2017. They knew about it. They're being sued for being a part of it, right?
But let me just say this, Nick. In any situation with a player, there's what's known publicly, and then there's all the other stuff that doesn't get out. And I'm not saying that he has all the other stuff. I'm just saying typically what gets out is about this much of what's happening in an organization.
I totally agree with you. And I am not sitting here and acting like I believe that Zeke over the rest of his career is going to not get in trouble again. The point I'm making is the car crash, the 6-game suspension, the whatever blemishes were at Ohio State, the stuff that didn't get out but the team knew about.
Vegas. The concert in Vegas.
Well, hold on once before I get to that. All of those things happened before Stephen Jones said his contracts are going to start at Todd Gurley's. The only thing that has happened since then is Vegas. Stephen Jones said that on May 3rd. The Vegas thing happened on May 20th. Now, if the Cowboys' position is we were going to do it, but that Vegas thing is now all of a sudden the outlying factor, I don't think that's the case, though. I think the outlying factor is they were ready to do this in a year. They were not ready to do it right now. They had a plan. The plan was sign Dak, hold the franchise tag over Amari's head because he's going to show up, and then deal with Zeke in a year, not to have to pay Dak and Zeke right now.
When Stephen Jones said that, just because he said Todd Gurley, we assumed with 2 years left. If he would have said, oh, we're eventually going to start at the Todd Gurley. If he had said, in a year or so, we'll start at that number, they would have been okay. But the unclarifying that right there, Zeke and his agent believe that over the next 3 years, Zeke's going to touch the ball 1,500 times. He is not going to play for the compensation that he's being paid right now. That's why they went back in there. But when your messaging is not consistent, a lot like New England, would you hear about their injury? You're not going to hear anything. You're going to hear the minimum. So you're not going to have those messaging points that Dallas, because of Jerry. He does a show. He answers all these questions. And now he's got his son as the general manager trying to make all those things legitimate. There is going to be a problem with Dallas because of the way they run their family business, Coach.
And I get that. I feel like Zeke, though, had an opportunity at the end of the last year or the start of free agency or whatever time period, long before training camp, to say, I want a new deal. I want a new deal right now. This is what I want the deal, so that Dallas could have put that into the equation.
Dallas made him an offer, Coach.
He did.
Studying my playbook?
Yeah, actually.
Nice.